Welcome. I'm Pastor Tim Gerbing from Christ Lutheran Church in Pewaukee, Wisconsin. Glad to be here with you in today's devotion. Today it comes from the book of Luke, chapter 19, verses 47 and 48. Every day, Jesus was teaching at the temple, but the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the leaders among the people were trying to kill him. Yet they could not find any way to do it because all the people hung on his words. Billy Graham once told the story of a time when he was in a small town and he was preaching at a bunch of churches there and he wanted to mail a letter. Since the town was so small, he thought he'd have no trouble finding the post office. He starts walking through town, and after a little while, he's just not able to find it. He keeps looking, but the post office is nowhere in sight. And so finally, he stops a boy who was about 8, 9 years old and asked him, can you show me the way to the post office? And the boy said, sure, it's just down this street, around the block. And Billy Graham thanked the boy. He turned to head out the way the boy had directed him, but then he stopped. He turned back to the boy, and he said, by the way, son, I'm preaching tonight at the Baptist church. Why don't you come and I'll show you how to get to heaven? And after thinking about it for a moment, the boy said, no, thank you. You don't even know your way to the post office. Now, I'm guessing Billy Graham took it well and laughed about it because he laughed about it when he told that story. When Jesus preached, people listened. They traveled long distances to hear him. Even when Jesus tried to get away to just find a moment's rest, it seemed that usually he'd be found out and he'd find a crowd of people around him. Very little rest for him. Toward the end of his life, especially the last week of it, his words attracted a lot of attention. And Luke writes that during that week, Jesus every day was staying put at the temple and he taught every day. His enemies were listening intently. Mainly, though, to find a way to trap him and get him into trouble with his words, hopefully serious enough that they'd find a cause to kill him. And even today, enemies of the Christian church, they try to find out what's being taught. They hope to learn whether a church is teaching what doesn't agree with the societal norm or their own personal or political agendas, and then they think they'll be able to discredit the church and bring it down. But we see that even in the midst of Jesus' enemies, Jesus kept on preaching the truth and people kept coming to listen. As Luke says, they were hanging on to his words. They were sincere listeners, hungry for an answer to the real problems of life, like guilt and shame. They were thirsty for forgiveness and peace with God. And Jesus was always able to give them that. So let's do the same. Let's keep coming to Jesus to hear his words, and let's hang on to them because his words are what save us from a world of hate and draw us to our God's redeeming and merciful love. Amen.